In the heart of a bustling metropolis, where skyscrapers touch the heavens and the streets never sleep, lies a secret that could shatter lives. On the surface, everything appeared perfect. A loving couple, a successful career, a circle of trusted friends. But beneath the veneer of happiness, a storm was brewing, one that would unravel a web of deceit so intricately spun that no one saw it coming. Sarah Lawson was the kind of woman who could command a room without uttering a word. Her emerald eyes had a way of piercing through the bravest of hearts, and her smile, when she chose to reveal it, could warm even the coldest of souls. She was married to David Lawson, a high-profile attorney with a reputation as impeccable as his suits. Together, they were the epitome of the perfect couple, or so it seemed. But behind closed doors, their life was anything but perfect. David was a man driven by ambition, often leaving Sarah alone in their sprawling penthouse while he worked late nights at the firm. The distance between them grew with each passing day, and Sarah, once vibrant and full of life, found herself sinking into a void of loneliness. It was on one of those lonely nights that she met him, Alex Carter, a charming and mysterious artist who had recently moved into the building. Their encounters started innocently enough, casual conversations in the elevator, fleeting glances that lasted just a second too long. But soon those encounters became the highlight of Sarah's day, the only thing she looked forward to in her otherwise empty life. One evening, after another late-night argument with David, Sarah found herself on the rooftop of their building, staring out at the city lights. That's when Alex appeared, his presence both comforting and unsettling. He offered her a drink, and as the night wore on, they talked about everything and nothing, finding solace in each other's company. As the weeks went by, Sarah and Alex's relationship deepened, their stolen moments becoming more frequent, more intense. She knew it was wrong, but there was something about Alex that she couldn't resist, a magnetic pull that made her feel alive again. And for the first time in years, Sarah felt truly seen, truly desired. But what Sarah didn't know was that Alex was not who he claimed to be. Beneath his charming exterior lay a man with a dark past, one that would soon collide with her own in a way she could never have imagined. One fateful night, as Sarah lay in Alex's arms, she received a text message from David. It was a simple message, just 4 words: "We need to talk." Her heart raced as she read the words over and over, dread creeping into her veins. She knew something was wrong, but she had no idea just how wrong things were about to get. The next morning, Sarah woke up alone in Alex's bed, a sense of unease gnawing at her. She checked her phone, but there were no new messages from David. Trying to shake off the feeling, she returned to her apartment, only to find it eerily quiet. David's briefcase was gone, and there was no sign of him anywhere. Panic set in as she called his office, only to be told that David hadn't shown up for work. Hours turned into days, and there was still no word from David. The police were called, but there were no leads, no clues as to where he might have gone. It was as if David Lawson had vanished into thin air. As Sarah grappled with the shock of her husband's disappearance, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her, that she was being followed. And then, one day, she found a note slipped under her door. It was written in a familiar handwriting, one that made her blood run cold. The note simply read, "You're next." The unraveling. Sarah's hands trembled as she clutched the note, the words burning into her mind like a brand. "You're next. Who could have left this? And why?" Her thoughts spiraled into a chaotic whirl as fear gnawed at the edges of her sanity. But she couldn't afford to lose control. Not now. She needed to figure out what was happening before it was too late. She tried calling Alex, but his phone went straight to voicemail. Panic surged again. But she pushed it down, forcing herself to think clearly. Maybe it was all a sick joke, some twisted prank by someone who knew about her affair. Or maybe, no. She couldn't let her mind go there. She needed answers. Determined, she went through David's things, hoping to find some clue, anything that could explain his disappearance. His office was immaculate, everything in its place, just as he always kept it. But as she rifled through his desk drawers, she found something that made her blood run cold. A photograph of her and Alex taken from a distance. It was grainy, as if captured from a security camera, but it was unmistakable. There they were, laughing together in the elevator, completely unaware that someone had been watching them. Her heart pounded as she tried to make sense of it. Who had taken this photo, and why had David kept it hidden? As she flipped it over, she noticed something scrawled on the back in David's handwriting. Who is he? The question was like a punch to the gut. David knew. He must have known for some time. But why hadn't he confronted her? Why had he kept this secret, letting it fester in the darkness? And more importantly, where was he now? Sarah's mind raced with possibilities, each one darker than the last. Had David disappeared to escape the humiliation? Had he been kidnapped by someone who knew too much? Or had he... No, she couldn't let herself think it, but the thought crept in anyway. Had David done something to himself? Something irreversible? With no other options, she decided to visit Alex's apartment. Maybe he knew something. Maybe he could help her make sense of this nightmare. But when she knocked on his door, there was no answer. She tried the knob, and to her surprise, the door swung open. The apartment was dark, the only light coming from the street lamps outside. As she stepped inside, a sense of dread washed over her. The place was eerily silent, too silent. She called out his name, but there was no response. Her footsteps echoed in the empty space as she made her way to the bedroom, hoping to find some sign of him. But when she opened the door, she was met with a sight that made her heart stop. The room was in shambles, drawers pulled out, clothes strewn everywhere, as if someone had been searching for something in a hurry. And there, on the bed, was another note, identical to the one she had found earlier. This one was taped to the pillow, the words written in the same familiar hand. "You're too late." Panic turned into full-blown terror as Sarah backed out of the room, her mind screaming at her to run. But as she turned to leave, she heard a sound that froze her in place, a soft, almost imperceptible click. She spun around, her eyes darting to the closet door, which was now slightly ajar. Holding her breath, she reached for it, her fingers trembling as she pulled it open. Inside, the closet was empty, except for a single item hanging on a hook. It was David's jacket, the one he had been wearing the last time she saw him. Her heart lurched as she reached out to touch it, only to find something cold and metallic hidden in the pocket. Her fingers closed around the object, and as she pulled it out, she felt a wave of nausea wash over her. It was a gun, David's gun, the one he kept locked away in a safe at home. But how had it ended up here, and why was it in Alex's apartment? Before she could process any of it, the sound of footsteps echoed from the hallway. Someone was coming. Her instincts kicked in, and she bolted from the room, slipping the gun into her bag as she raced out of the apartment. She didn't stop running until she was back in her own home, locking the door behind her. Her breath came in ragged gasps as she tried to make sense of the madness, but the pieces weren't fitting together. All she knew was that she was in danger, and she couldn't trust anyone, not even herself. The only thing she could do now was survive. And to do that, she needed to find David, or at least find out what had happened to him. But as she sat there, staring at the gun on the table, a terrifying thought crossed her mind. What if David wasn't the victim in all this? What if he was the one pulling the strings, orchestrating everything from the shadows? What if the real danger was much closer than she had ever imagined?